Hello and welcome back to DevLand Diaries, the show where we talk big ideas and keep it real. I'm your host, Michael Kessler, and today we have a real treat. U.S. Senator John Kennedy is here to share some down-home thoughts on education, big tech, and a bold new vision for our kids' futures.
Well, thank you. I'm happier than a dog with two tails to be here. Let's get one thing out in the open. I'm no expert on raising young'uns, but I do know a thing or two about plain common sense, which seems to be missing in both Washington and Silicon Valley these days.
Senator, let's dive right in. You've been pretty outspoken about our education system and even big tech's role in kids' lives. What's on your mind?
You bet. See, our country's education system, how do I put this delicately? It's about as screwed up as a soup sandwich. We've got brilliant kids being told they're failures just because they don't color inside the lines. And big tech, those fellas are building fancy algorithms to keep our kids clicking and scrolling, but not necessarily learning. It's like giving our kids a high-tech pacifier. Keeps them quiet, but doesn't feed their brains. Now, I'm a proud product of public schools, and I respect our teachers. Bless their hearts. They work like the devil and often get paid in peanuts. But the system itself, it's older than dirt. It hasn't changed much since folks were writing on chalkboards and kids were reciting times tables by rote. Meanwhile, we're in the 21st century. My cell phone has more computing power than NASA had when they put a man on the moon, but our classrooms are still operating like it's 1955.
What do you think is missing, Senator?
Imagination, creativity, and a willingness to let kids fail forward. Let me tell you a little story. Back home in Louisiana, I knew a boy, let's call him Johnny, who could take apart a tractor engine and put it back together blindfolded. Smart as a whip with his hands, but that kid barely scraped by in school. Teacher said he daydreamed too much. Well, turns out Johnny wasn't daydreaming. He was designing a new engine in his head. Stories like that get my blood boiling hotter than a $2 pistol. Because how many kids out there have talents we're not nurturing? We've got an education system that measures every fish by how well it climbs a tree. And when the fish fails, we say, well, that's a dumb fish. In truth, it's a dumb test.
You also mentioned big tech pacifying kids. What's your take on their role?
Oh, I have thoughts. Look, I'm tickled that America leads the world in technology. But these big tech companies, sometimes I think their motto is, ask not what we can do for your country, ask what our country can do for our bonuses. They churn out apps and gadgets faster than a cat on a hot tin roof, promising they'll transform education or connect the world. But in my view, a lot of it's just digital sugar. It feels good for a bit, then you crash. You give a kid an iPad and think he's learning. Sure, he might pick up some facts or play a coding game, but more often, he's watching videos of cats playing piano or whatever the latest distraction is. Big tech has turned education into an attention economy. Keep them hooked, keep the ad money flowing. As my grandpappy used to say, that dog don't hunt. You can't fix education by parking kids in front of screens designed to addict them. Is our technology greater than our humanity? Sometimes I wonder.
So, what's the alternative? It sounds like you're hinting there are folks doing it differently.
Sure am. Let me tell you all about this outfit I came across, DevLand Academy. Now, nobody paid me to say this. I just call them like I see them. DevLand is doing something radical. They're treating kids like inventors instead of inmates. Imagine a place after school where the so-called troublemakers get to tinker with robots and code their own games. No fancy Ivy League credentials required. Heck, the founder himself didn't even finish college. He was labeled a misfit, just like that boy Johnny I mentioned. What grabbed me by the heartstrings is the founder's story. This young man was written off by everyone, teachers, bullies, you name it. But he taught himself robotics and AI on his own time. Ended up building his own robot company with 0 fancy degrees. That's like catching a catfish with no bait, folks. Pretty darn impressive. And instead of riding off into the Silicon Valley sunset, He started DevLand Academy to help kids who were like him. Kids who don't learn by sitting still and being spoon-fed, but by getting their hands dirty and creating something.
It's inspiring, isn't it? Kind of a big middle finger to the status quo, if you'll pardon my French.
Oh, I'll pardon more than that. It is a big old rebuke to the status quo and high time for it. See, I've always believed the systemic failure in education isn't because of our kids, it's because of us adults. We expect every child to fit one mold. That's like expecting every Louisianan to enjoy unsweetened tea. Not going to happen, sweetheart. DevLand's doing what our public systems ought to, meeting kids where they are. They're saying, you love to tear things apart? Here's a drone kit. Have at it. You get bored easy? Here's a challenge. Build an app to help your community. They harness that restless energy, that so-called rebellious streak, and turn it into innovation. That's smarter than anything I've heard out of a DC committee in a long time.
You've painted a pretty vivid picture of both the problem and a possible solution. If you had to sum it up, what's your message to parents, teachers, even policymakers listening?
My message is simple. Wake up and smell the circuits. Our kids aren't widgets, and learning isn't one size fits all. We need to stop treating creative, quirky kids as failures. In the good Lord's toolbox, not every tool is a hammer. Sometimes you need a wrench, a screwdriver, or a dadgum blowtorch. Those misfit kids, they might just be the blowtorch this country needs to ignite innovation. And to big tech and big government, I say this: quit posturing and start partnering. Support programs like DevLand that are actually in the trenches with these kids. If a scrappy little academy can change lives with some Lego robots and code, imagine what we could do if we all invested in our misfits. You want the next Steve Jobs or Madame Curie? They're probably a kid who's failing geometry right now because he's bored out of his mind. So let's invest in them, not just in test scores and shiny gadgets.
Strong words. Any final thought you'd like to leave us with, Senator?
Just this. I'm a conservative from Louisiana. I don't believe in participation trophies or coddling kids. Life can be tougher than a $3 steak, and they need grit. But I'll tell you what, opportunity is not a handout. DevLand Academy isn't coddling anybody. It's challenging them in the right way. It's saying, here's your chance. Show us what you can do. That's the American way. So to all the misfit kids out there, keep dreaming, keep tinkering, keep raising hell in a good way. And to the rest of us, maybe the problem isn't the kids that don't fit in. Maybe the problem is the damn frame. It's time to build a new one.
Amen to that. Senator John Kennedy, thank you for sharing your candor and passion. Folks, if that doesn't light a fire under you, I don't know what will. Until next time, stay bold and keep brainstorming.